Hello everyone, welcome back to Spar&Brawl. Hope you're having a decent day. So as always, I'm joined by my co-host Sam, and we're starting a kind of new series where it's a movie review. So we talk about the movie itself, but also the political aspects and the political commentary touch on that because of course we're kind of a YouTube news channel with leftist leanings, so that's the approach, the angle that we're going to bring to these movies. So the first movie that we decided to talk about is The Trial of the Chicago 7, the new Netflix movie. And then but yeah, so Sam is a much bigger movie buff than me, so I'll let him kind of take the lead with this whole telling you guys what we're going to talk about and his takes on the movie. And also what I'm interested is Sam is going to highlight some of the historical inaccuracies of the movie, so we'll get to that. Really looking forward to hearing them. But yeah, Sam, do you want to get us going a little bit?
Sure. So hopefully this is going to be the structure for these videos from now on. It's gonna We're gonna have a very short recap of the movie, and this is, by the way, going to be a spoiler field
Oh
usually because
yeah.
we're going to talk about political themes or that type of thing. So if we need to discuss the ending usually because that's crucial. So spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. And so there's going to be a quick recap, and then we're going to tell you about the people involved, cast and crew. Then we're going to hopefully give our takes if we are still live after all of that. We're gonna give our takes as a movie on its own. Did we enjoy it? As a movie, was it well made? How good was it? And then we're gonna get into the historical and political implications and the wider context of the film. What do we think of its themes and all that? There's gonna be a bit of a judgment there as well. So the review section is going to be more on the themes rather than on the making of the movie, but we're going to cover the making as well. So today's movie was Trial of the Chicago 7, which was about the famous trial of the Chicago 7 or 8, depending on how you calculate them. And that happened in US. There were these people who were basically they were from very different groups, from very different ideologies, but they all agreed that Vietnam War should end. And they were protesting the Johnson government because the Johnson government was escalating the war, and they instituted a draft and all that. So they were protesting that, and they all came to Chicago to a Democratic National Convention, if I'm not mistaken, to protest there. And some of them they came from different states within America. So because of that, police and the U.S. Prosecutors, they went after them for conspiracy to to cause a riot and to cause violence in a different state. So, which is a very, very big crime, and tried to get them. But it's important to note that, yeah, these were 8 people from very different backgrounds. And the movie covers their trial, which was a travesty of like it's remembered as one of the worst examples of a trial in U.S. history. The movie is written and directed by Aaron Sorkin, who is a very famous writer and director right now. He wrote The Social Network. He wrote the famous TV show The West Wing that made him big. He also wrote and directed the movie which I really like, Jobs, which is about Steve Jobs, like 3 moments in Steve Jobs' life. And uh, so he's very much adept at sort of mixing reality with fiction, and he's famous for his very witty and very snappy dialogues. People sort of snap back and forth, and walk and talk is something I think he may have came up with or he popularized, which you see in a lot of movies that sort of you see people walking in corridors and talking about the issues. It's a way to give exposition to the audience without boring them, because if people are just too sitting around talking, it's not as fun. You know, so he's a great writer and director, famous. The cast are amazing. Sacha Baron Cohen, famous as Borat, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Michael Keaton, Frank Langella, Yahya Abdul Mateen. All of them are fantastic actors. All of them Jeremy Strong, Mark Rylance, Eddie Redmayne, Oscar winners, basically Mark Rylance, Eddie Redmayne, Jeremy Strong, fantastic actor. Like, just compare his acting here with his acting in Succession, a TV show he's playing right now. So they're all involved. So, you know, a very high level production. It's interesting. I was reading about the production of this movie, and it was in works since 2007, and a lot of different people were approached, and a lot of different people were supposed to. Apparently, at some point, Spielberg was even supposed to direct the movie. So it was quite interesting that it took such a long time for it to come out, and finally it came out on Netflix. Uh, and just to end the recap, the trial, as I mentioned, was a travesty, and it showcased the injustice in U.S. judiciary system and the fact that U.S. really wanted to continue the war. And but at the end, they all get the judge convicts them pretty much. But in the following, in the like it's basically it's a mistrial, and they all go free. They all, none of them goes to jail. Uh, and now we can, I think, get to our reviews of the film as a film. So what did you think of it as a film, as a story? Just let's put the history and politics aside.
Okay, that was a great recap. Found it really good.
Oh,
Very interesting. So the movie itself, at first I was kind of hooked in the beginning a little bit. Then the Sacha Baron Cohen and the other character, hipster character, kind of threw me off. In the beginning, I wasn't sure. I don't think I understood really what their role was in the movie. That was just like the first 5-10 minutes. But then that
they
was
were
okay.
yeah, just to clarify, they were the leaders of the Yuppie movement, Jerry Rubin and another one.
Yeah. So, and then from then on, the storyline was, of course, the political context was very interesting. I love movies that talk about kind of Vietnam, not like war Vietnam movies, but where the context about Vietnam, where you just hear what was going on back then. It's just insane. They talk about the number of troops the number of people they just kept on sending to Vietnam. I mean, when you think about it, for what? But yeah, and then the movie overall, I was relatively entertained and interested and into it, but I didn't love it, love it. I mean, I know that you didn't want to give ratings and that kind of stuff, but I think for this movie, I would give it, a kind of 6 out of 10. So I like kind of medium liked it. I didn't love it. That's what I would say.
All right,
But yeah,
but
as
did
you
you
can
anything?
tell, I'm not so much into movies like you, so I can't like tell, oh, I really love this guy
You know,
in that role. But yeah, this movie didn't inspire me too much, or didn't kind of get my juices flowing in that
acting,
way.
directing, like
Oh,
editing,
acting. I
soundtrack.
mean, acting from the beginning, I was kind of hooked at the acting of. I think his acting was really good and entertaining. The main guy, the lawyer, the
Sasha.
prosecutor. No, the
Oh,
prosecutor.
Mark Rylance.
No,
Yeah, the good guy.
no, yeah, no, the prosecutor on the
Oh,
other.
it's not, yeah, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. All right. Yeah.
Joseph Gordon. I thought, yeah, I like that, and then, oh yeah, I think that's my kind of
No,
review.
no, that's good. To be honest, I read as a movie. I think it's fantastic. It's fast-paced. The dialogue is great. The editing, I really like the scenes that Sacha Baron Cohen, Abby Hoffman is like talking, and then they cut to, different things and all that. There were, however, problems as well. The accents were really like because they use, I don't know I don't know why they insist on using British actors for
Yeah.
American, like all of, like Sacha
Okay,
Baron
so
Cohen is
there I have
British,
a point. There I have a
Eddie Redmayne,
comment. So
Mark Rylance,
the girl who plays in Wolf of Wall Street, right?
yeah,
She's British.
Margot Robbie, she's
She does a
Australian.
good job. She's Australian. Okay, she does a great job. No, with the accent.
She's not in this movie, man.
Huh? No, I know. In general, I know she's not in this
Oh,
movie. But I was just
yeah, okay.
thinking,
Oh,
no, in
oh,
general,
sorry.
because Sacha Baron Cohen, I thought his accent was kind of like weird and all over the place, and it just reminded
When
me of her
Eddie
because
Redmayne,
her. Sorry.
Eddie Redmayne's accent is also very odd
Yeah, well, him
in
I
this
didn't know
movie.
exactly, but it just because back in the day I didn't know that she was an American, and then I remember when I found out that she's American, I was like, wow, in Wolf of Wall Street, you really couldn't tell. So that's why it reminded me
Uh,
of her.
no, 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 no. A lot of them can do a good one. Christian Bale,
True that. Christian Bale does a great
the
one.
guy in The Americans, he's Welsh. He's got a very strong Welsh accent, and he's doing Perry Mason now. I forget his name. Anyway, a lot of them can do, but it's just they are going for these specific American accents because these are real people as well.
Yeah.
So they can't go for the generic sort of, mid-Atlantic accent. So it does come across. The Sacha Baron Cohen one is literally like a, sir, yeah, it's very
So
typical,
that was
American
bad, right?
cowboy. Yeah, I thought so. And a lot of other people also mentioned. I thought Eddie Redmayne one was weirder because he kept, we
I
don't do
don't.
this. He kept trying to, I don't know, do something with his voice. So that was one of the few technical issues I had with the movie. But overall, I think as a movie, it was great. As a piece of art, it was great. Again, now we're gonna basically segue into the political and historical commentary. But I do think it's just my major problem with these movies that are based on historical events or historical people or whatever is that uh, uh, they should come with a very, very clear clarification that this is inspired by true events, or this is for sake of a storytelling. This like the only one I really enjoyed, for example, if you've seen The Big Short, I don't know if you've seen
Yeah,
that, which is about the economic downfall.
with Christian
That one
Bale.
was great. Yeah, with Christian Bale and Adam McKay or Cheney again. Adam McKay. Adam McKay very explicitly makes it clear during his movies that this is a take, this is
Hmm.
my take, and this is not exactly how historical events happen. And this movie does the opposite. In fact, by editing in real footage and all that, I think they do the opposite. And we'll get into the first? You go first. What did you think of the political themes, the ending? Uh, did you feel like right wingers probably felt a bit, you know, it's a very one of those movies that sort of shouts its message at you, really
Yeah.
doesn't, try to hide its message.
No, like I said, I mean, I found the overall context to be interesting, the Vietnam War. And it's kind of like, of course, back then, joining the U.S. Army was involuntary. So they also have a scene of where, they're reading people's names and all that, getting drafted. But it's very
People,
interesting how like during that time there was like such a link between domestic issues and the foreign policy. It kind of reminded me of the early 2000s, with the Iraq War and everything. Whereas right now in the progressive leftist world, so just a little. I mean, it's not like based on research or anything, just my impression. But right now, there's like a super focus on domestic issues only in the U.S., a bit less on the foreign policy, and it's interesting during that time. And even groups who had a lot of things to fight for, of course, domestically. I mean, I understand that they could get drafted and be sent to Vietnam, which is different now, which is why maybe people were more concerned with the Vietnam War. But yeah, I kind of enjoyed that time where, not that I enjoyed the Vietnam war being there, but when there is a focus on domestic and foreign kind of U.S. issues and policies. That was it. But then the movie, besides that, and besides, like, it has that political context. But from there on, I mean, there's a little bit of like political context in how people organized maybe, and then protest and riots and all this kind of stuff. But throughout the movie there wasn't like other political stuff that came out, kind of, I would say. I mean,
what do
yeah,
you
I don't
mean?
know.
Like,
I don't know, I'm just trying to think.
uh,
Yeah, I don't know.
look,
Scratch that last part.
look, to me, the movie first. My huge problem with the movie. Let's just start with the historical stuff. There were a couple of changes that really didn't matter. Like, for example, the scene where Abby Hoffman and Jerry Rubin are wearing the ropes to mock the
Yeah,
judge,
that didn't happen,
and then
right?
They did. No, no, they
Uh,
did wear the ropes, but
oh,
when they
really?
dropped them, they weren't wearing cup clothing underneath, right? So they were wearing normal clothes. Yeah, yeah, that
Uh-huh.
definitely happened. So that
Interesting.
type of stuff I don't think matters that much. But there were a couple of major, strange sort of omissions. One was that, for example, Bobby Seale, the black man, who's the eighth member of the Chicago Seven, he gets gagged and chained in a part of the
That's
movie, and
fucked up,
that's
isn't it?
true. That's true. But he was gagged and chained for a few days, as
Shut
far as
up.
I know. Not just for, yeah, not just for one-off
Wow.
incident. And there's this great channel called Legal Eagle, who's a real lawyer that breaks down legal movies or legal TV shows. It's great. He does it, by the way, great episode about It's Always Sunny, but when they go to court and about bird law and
Bird
all that.
law?
So if yeah, Berdla gets in there. So if you're interested in It's Always Sunny, check that out. But he's great. Check that channel out for specific legal issues with Trial of Chicago 7 and other stuff. So that lasted a few days, I believe. That was one thing. The second thing they omitted that really sort of I found this strange and upsetting was that, for example, at the end when Tom Hayden is reading the names. First of all, Tom Hayden doesn't read the names, and it's not at the end of the court.
Sorry, can you
It's the,
specify that what you're referring to?
at the very
Yeah,
end
no,
of
I know
the
what you're talking about, but he's reading the
uh,
names of all the
of
Americans who've died
all the
in Vietnam.
all the American soldiers who have died in Vietnam, and but yeah, basically honoring them, using
Yeah.
his time to publicize that people are dying while we
Because
are
the
doing
judge
this.
gives him like time to, like a moment to give like a final speech.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. In reality, it didn't happen in the final speech. It was given by another member of the Chicago Seven. He's a fantastic character actor. I don't remember the actor's name right now. I it's He was in Memento. He was in Fargo. He was let me just John Carroll, John Carroll Lynch, who's one of my favorite actors of all time. He's just fantastic. He gave the guy who was very anti-violent, but he got so angry he punched somebody.
Hmm.
Very tall. Yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh my God, he was hilarious. He
yeah.
was great. I forgot about him.
He's a character actor. You've seen him in loads of stuff, I'm sure, but you don't because he's just
Yeah,
just
no, no.
one of the best actors of his generations. But so he gave that a speech, and more importantly, that speech included the name of Vietnamese people as well. You know,
There we go.
the
That's better.
Vietnamese people who died were included. So that was a bit disappointing. That again, it became so focused on America and American soldiers who died, and then. Although I would say these soldiers were drafted, basically young men pulled out of their home to fight in a war they didn't want to. Uh, but besides that, I think the problem with this movie is the problem with a lot of liberal movies about the past. At the ending there is a triumphalism, like we won sort of thing, which is complete, frankly, bullshit. The fact is that the Vietnam War came to an end during Nixon era because Henry Kissinger believed in détente with USSR and China and everywhere. He believed in a more sort of interdependent world. It didn't come to an end because a bunch of students protested or people were angry or people were coming back in body bags.
Wait, the movie
And
gives that says that kind of at the end, gives that impression.
I think it gives that impression. That's the impression I give that, even though, it's hard and tough, but when we do activism and
Yeah.
when we come together, in the end, we triumph or whatever. I mean, that was the impression I got. Maybe I am
No,
reading
I see.
too
I was
much
a
into
bit
it.
disconnected towards the end. I wasn't
Or
like
yes,
I was
sleeping.
watching it fully and
Yeah.
stuff, but like I said, it didn't engage me like I didn't love it, love it, love it.
Fair enough. So I don't like that feeling of triumphalism, and I'll, especially considering what has happened ever since with Iraq War, with so many other wars, secret wars, bombings, all of that. So this idea. So I wished it was a bit more realistic in terms of ending. Maybe they got off, but then they see that this mass murder or whatever continues. And interestingly, like just 2 weeks ago, I was rewatching Century of the Self, a documentary by Adam Curtis, British documentary maker, and in that, that's actually about very much failures of the hippie, yuppie movements in 60s, all these movements and how they changed. And it has interviews with Jerry Rubin, one of the people who was in the court. Jerry Rubin is the not Sacha Baron Cohen, it's the other guy. And for when you see interviews with Jerry Rubin, he does talk about that they failed pretty much. The state basically defeated them, defeated their movement, and then it goes into the fact that then because of that, the hippies and yuppies and all these people, they went looking inwards instead of outwards and started meditating, and that trans TM and that type of thing came into fashion. So I think in reality, the reality is very different from the triumphalism feel that
Mm-hmm.
this movie. And as a Screen Junkies, one of the Screen Junkies guys, Spencer, I forget his family name, but one of them is called Spencer. He's very funny comedian, great film reviewer. He put like it's such a sort of it's a movie made for liberal class in U.S. to basically feel better about themselves and clap and we together we overcame and now we are in a better place, and if we just do the right thing in the end things will work out. And
Do you
you
think
know
that has to do a bit with Netflix? Do you feel like Netflix sometimes give this feeling to its original movies?
no, I think it had to do more with academy baiting the movie, sort of going for Academy Awards, because Netflix is no I think Netflix is just at least during the last 5-10 years. Again, by the way, I'm an amateur film watcher and follow movie news and in that type of thing, so maybe I'm wrong, but Netflix has been basically funding a lot of, like, pretty much funding everything, and uh, a lot of genre movies, a
Mm-hmm.
lot
Yeah,
of
yeah.
horror movies. So I think they're just playing, basically spreading their bets, hedging their bets on all kinds of movies. And now they've, with the Irishman, Trial of Chicago 7 and stuff, they're going for a more academic, Academy Award sort of feel. So I think that's more to do with that and
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Sorkin and that type of thing than necessarily Netflix, because I don't think they very rarely get involved in any production or any, you know what I mean? Like they rarely uh, they rarely sort of like Hollywood producers come in and say change that or change this.
Yeah, yeah, no, I see. Okay, very interesting. That was the thing about the hippie movement and stuff that you said is so true, right? Like, I mean, nowadays have nothing to do with being like anti-war or hippies. I mean, a hippie might be anti.
Hippies do.
Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, a hippie might be, but like if you see like a group of hippies, it's not necessarily that, one thing that unites them are like political or social issues.
No, I think that it is, but they don't necessarily believe in sort of social activism so much as in we need to change the people. We don't need to change the politicians or social structures. If people change and people believe, and I mean this is a
Like a
generalization, but
cultural revolution, like Sacha
yeah, yeah,
Baron Cohen says in the movie.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, again, this is a huge generalization, by the way, uh, and I think it was a reaction to the fact that there was no other option when a state defeats you so, so overwhelmingly.
Yeah.
You'd have to basically turn inwards, at least for a while. So I'm not being just critical about, like, I'm not judging that at all right now. All I'm saying in this movie, I think it's a typical American movie, feel good American movie for a specific class, for the liberal class that is
Mm-hmm.
somewhat feels guilty about America sometimes. So I think it's that kind of movie. It's not, and I just wish it if it clarified, that it's inspired by true events very loosely. Maybe that would have, maybe I wouldn't have this problem. It's just that with intercutting to real life, real footage.
Yeah.
This is exactly, again. Hopefully, we do one episode about Adam McKay movies. But if you watch Big Short or Cheney, there are scenes when they're for example, they're ordering food, and instead of ordering food, they start ordering. So we are ordering missiles and mass murder and genocide, and with the side of chemical weapons, blah blah. He clarifies that this
Yeah.
is a take. This is not exact historical events, because if you want to get down to exact historical events, you always end up, to be honest, getting into too muddy. It's everybody disagrees, and it becomes a whole thing. So I prefer the other style. But overall, I would say though it's a great gripping movie. I definitely was gripped. I like the fast pace. I love Sorkin dialogues. Jobs, again, Jobs was a movie that is not at all historically, I think, accurate.
I don't
But I think
remember watching it. I don't remember.
it's a great one. It gives you, I think
It's
it
not the
gives you,
Ashton Kutcher movie about Steve
no,
Jobs, no?
no, no. It's Michael
Did I
Fassbender,
piss you off?
maybe. No, that's a great movie, but I think again that's not a historical movie, but it does, I think, in a way shed more light on Steve Jobs than a lot of other stuff, even though it was a unreal story. But this time, I have a bit more mixed feeling. But that's just my cents. But overall, I would say it's a great watch. Definitely watch it. Just keep in mind that any movie that is based on historical events is definitely not based on historical events.
No, definitely. Nice. Great, great stuff. I mean, I didn't have, because I mean, you're super into movies, and I mean, of course, you like this one, so you had all these interesting stuff to say. If I would have really enjoyed it, I probably would have had more to say, but it was kind of like a,
Yeah, so for
for
you.
me. I
To be
wasn't too, although I love lawyer movies and these kind of things. Like,
lawyer
anytime I'm
movie.
watching a lawyer movie, I either want to become like a lawyer or like a detective, like a doctor. I'm like, I should have, can I be a
Yeah.
doctor, lawyer, detective, secret agent, undercover?
No, I've never
All of
had
them
the
put
feeling
together.
to. I never wanted to become a doctor, to be honest. But since I was a kid, my first dream was always to be a lawyer,
Hmm.
and then like spy slash maybe if I'm not too successful, a spy detective. But
What about private,
yeah,
private
that's good.
inspector? Where'd you fall on that?
Yeah, that's I'm very big fan of that actually.
Yeah,
Well, lawyering is
PI.
always seems so much cooler in
Yeah, I
movies.
know. Definitely.
But yeah,
Okay.
yeah, but that gave me an idea though. We should do just like this movie review. We should do a football review, and then you can talk, and I just because
Well,
I
if
know.
any time there's an interesting thing that comes up, like the Super League video,
Yeah, yeah,
which we
definitely.
just did, so check that out. But yeah, anything else on this movie?
No, no, great.
Okay, yeah. So people, please let us know what you thought, and if you have any movie suggestions, some movies that lend themselves to, where the political parts are kind of explicit in a way, because every movie, I'm sure, has everything is political, but of course, some of them they try not to touch on it too much. But yeah, if any movie suggestions, and then let us know what you think. Share your thoughts, comments, criticism in the comment section below. If not, thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you in our next video. Thank you.